Good evening and welcome to the City of Roswell Mayor and City Council Open Forum of March 31st, 2025. This is the fifth Monday, which means it's open mic night. I'm Mayor Kurt Wilson. I'd like to introduce my colleagues and council members present. Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Lee Hills and Pro Tem, Councilmember William Mortland, and Councilmember David Johnson and Councilmember Alan Sells are both not present on an excused absence from our meeting tonight. I'll now turn our meeting over to our Chief Executive Officer and City Administrator, Mr. Randy Knighton. Mr. Randy Knighton will explain how the meeting is run. Mr. Knighton.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson, and good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to Open Forum. If you would like to speak this evening, we do ask that you fill out a comment card which can be found at the back of the room in order to ensure an accurate record of the meeting. We ask, of course, as we do in all meetings, that everyone observe the principles of mutual respect and display the appropriate demeanor during the course of the meeting this evening, which should be and is reflective of our great community. The mayor, of course, is the presiding officer of the meeting and it will ensure the orderly exchange of comments this evening. As always, we encourage everyone in attendance in the viewing audience to visit the city website for meetings, events, and departmental information, and encourage everyone to review and participate in the various activities and offerings here in the city of Roswell, which you can find at roswell365.com. There are a number of events upcoming in the city of Roswell which promote community, physical activity, and leisure, as we all make Roswell the #1 family community in America. Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. As always, at this time, I have the great privilege of asking Pastor Jason Cook, pastor at the Fellowship Bible Church, to come to the front and lead us in an invocation and moment of silence.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson, and thank you to the council. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Father in heaven, you are so kind to us and so gracious that you've given us another morning full of your mercy. You've given us another day that is full of your grace. And even this evening, you've given us yet an opportunity to experience your hand of provision, protection, and even fun by and through the work of those before us. Would you superintend this meeting, and would you be here in our midst so that these leaders before us and those of us here who are citizens of this great city might experience the great joy of co-laboring to see your kingdom shalom on display here. So Lord, would you guide and govern our time this evening? We love you so much. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you, Pastor Jason Cook of the Fellowship Bible Church, for joining us tonight. At this time, I'd like to ask United States Marine Corps Colonel James M. Dunn to come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Colonel. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Colonel Dunn. At this time, I'd like to ask you to please stay up there as I'll ask the council to come down for the first item under the mayor's report, which is a reading of the proclamation for the Esteemed Veteran of Roswell Award. Proclamation, Office of the Mayor, Colonel James M. Dunn, esteemed veteran. Whereas the City of Roswell proudly recognizes and honors the outstanding military service and lifelong dedication of Colonel James M. Dunn, United States Marine Corps, who served his country with honor and distinction from 1970 until his retirement in 1999. Whereas Colonel Dunn's exemplary military career spanned 29 years, including 5 years of active duty and 24 years in the Marine Corps Reserve, during which he served as an officer and aviator, piloting CH-46 helicopters on active duty and AH-1 Cobra attack helicopters in the reserves, amassing more than 4,000 flight hours in both rotary and fixed-wing aircraft. Whereas during Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, then Lieutenant Colonel Dunn served as the commanding officer of HMA 773, an attack helicopter squadron based out of Dobbins Air Force Base in Marietta, Georgia. He led approximately 100 United States Marines and 4 Naval Service members, successfully completing all assigned missions and ensuring the safe return of every service member under his command. The squadron logged approximately 800 flight hours, including 270 hours in active combat duty. Whereas for his leadership, valor, and service, Colonel Dunn was awarded the Bronze Star and carried out deployments and training operations in numerous locations around the world, including Okinawa, Saudi Arabia, Norway, Denmark, the Philippines, Thailand, Japan, Australia, and across the United States. Whereas Colonel Dunn has consistently demonstrated his commitment to honoring the legacy of all who have served, particularly Vietnam veterans, ensuring they receive the recognition and appreciation they so richly deserve. And whereas following his military retirement at the rank of full colonel, Colonel Dunn continued to serve the community as a dedicated immigration attorney in Roswell, Georgia, for over 30 years, helping individuals and families pursue the American dream. Now, therefore, I, Kurt M. Wilson, Mayor of the City of Roswell, Georgia, do hereby name Colonel James M. Dunn, an esteemed veteran of Roswell, and call upon all our citizens to recognize his outstanding service to our country and to our community, and that there is no higher calling than those who have served in the United States Armed Forces. Congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to say a few words. Mayor? Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council, and Ms. Katrina Singletary, who worked with me to help put this together. And I accept this recognition, not for me personally, but on behalf of all service members, past and present, who served our great country, and particularly with emphasis on the Vietnam veterans. They gave more than they got. And I'm here really on their behalf. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Dunn. Thank you very much. This is the fifth Monday, which means it is open mic night. The reason that the overwhelming majority of you are here, thank you for being here and being with us during the presentation of Colonel Dunn's esteemed Roswell Award. We have 3 open mic nights this year. This is the first on the calendar of 2025. We have received a great deal of commentary and emails and comments and conversations over the parking deck and the parking policy. So if you will bear with me, there's going to be a 5-minute presentation by Vice President Sharon Izzo and a 3-minute presentation by Senior Vice President Jeff Leatherman. They'll open up the meeting, and then I will open up the open mic meeting to all Roswell residents who are here. So thank you so much. So let me start off first with a 5-minute presentation by Vice President Sharon Izzo on the parking deck.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. So excited to be here again with you tonight, celebrating the great milestone of the giant step forward we took Wednesday night in our parking deck project. As you know, the voters overwhelmingly voted for the parking deck in downtown Roswell, and we have worked long and hard to identify a site and then to do some preliminary engineering and architecture work to develop a design that we then were able to go out into the marketplace with and go through a very painstaking procurement process to make sure we identified the exact right team for our design build of this parking deck, and that team is Winter Construction. I want to start by talking a little bit about the design itself, the images that, hold on. Oh, if I turn it on. Okay. These images that we shared on Wednesday, I know there were a number of questions that you all received over the weekend, so I want to start by saying that the Green Street parking deck is a part of a broader Green Street activation plan to create an east-west pedestrian corridor along Plumtree Street that's going to connect Canton to Green Street and Green Street to Southern Post, and to create an opportunity for parking that could accommodate visitors that might be even coming into our Woodstock soccer fields over the weekends and in the evenings for practices. So just to talk about the Green Street activation plan a little bit, if I may, the Green Street plan is to take Green Street and basically take that from a 2-way street to a 1-way street traveling south. That will work well along with the corridor drive that'll go in on the north side of our parking deck to create better circulation in that part of town. In addition to that, the intention is to take Plumtree Street right now, which is a 1-way street, and turn that into a pedestrian-only street to provide that connection for visitors that are parking in our parking deck and looking to get over onto Canton Street to visit our restaurants and our shops and to generally explore all that Roswell has to offer. The design itself contemplated the original design of the Masons Lodge. As you know, as a part of this process, the Masons Lodge, it was determined that the City Council wanted to preserve and protect that property, and in so doing, we needed to take a look at that architecture, which is Greek Revival, and how will our deck work next to that deck, next to the lodge, in addition to being adjacent to Southern Post and the rest of the surroundings. And that's what you see here. You see the brick facades, you see the vertical relief that's provided, almost making it look like a grouping of buildings. That was some of the work that was done by the architect we worked with. He looked very closely at not just those buildings, but also the rest of our historic district to understand what the architecture was and what we could do with this deck. As we talked about last week, the deck itself is a giant concrete structure. It's a bunch of concrete Lego blocks that get fitted together. So what we need to do is talk about what happens on the outside. And our deck is a 4-sided deck. Oftentimes in other cities, you might see a deck that looks one way from one perspective and another way from another perspective, almost like a back side and a front side. Our deck is completely going to have an architectural treatment on all 4 sides. The other thing I want to point out as we're looking at this image is you can start to see some of the fall that we have on this site. So on the Green Street side, the land itself is higher. When we move over to 9, we have about a 12 to 15 foot drop across the site. So what that means is that part of the deck would actually be subterranean on that very first level. As a female, and I imagine other people, I'm not terribly comfortable in a subterranean deck with very limited light. I feel vulnerable, and that's something that our team looked very, very closely at. How are we going to create an openness even in the subterranean level to create a feeling of safety and allow natural light to penetrate that deck? And you'll see some very large openings, particularly on that first floor, and that was quite intentional. Additionally, you can see that there was some additional detail paid to the very tops of both the openings and at the very top of the deck, those parapets. And again, it's almost like a crown molding. It's that little bit extra that you don't always see on a parking deck, but something that the group felt was very important for this particular parking deck. You can also see that on this image, and I probably should have oriented you when we got started here, this is actually looking at our parking deck from Southern Post, the southern piece of Southern Post, looking across the street at where our deck will be. You can also see the surface parking there on the south side, and that'll actually be the entrance to that first level of the deck. You can also see there's a lot of landscaping there, and so there's attention given to the beauty surrounding the deck and paying attention to the property itself. This image is more from the traffic light there at Southern Post, looking directly at the deck. So that gives you an idea of how deep the deck is going to be. And then here, this image is as though we've just had breakfast at Fellows and are walking back down to our car at the parking deck along Green Street. And you can see here that tower is actually the not just the stairway, but also the elevator for the deck. And you can see that there's a fair bit of light being given to that tower, which will make it feel open and less restrictive. There's also, rather than making that just an opening, we're actually going to be putting glass in there, which I think will be lovely, and also allow that to feel safer. And again, you can see some of the beautiful plantings that are contemplated there. The last image I have to share with you is actually of the Green Street Plumtree Street connection. So this will be the image that a visitor will have as they're returning to their parking deck after a visit, perhaps over on Canton Street, looking back at the deck. And you can see on this side, the deck looks much shorter. And again, that's because there is that subterranean level below that level that you're looking at here. So you're actually looking at the middle level of the deck when you're looking at this image. And of course, I'm open to any questions or thoughts, but I think probably now you'd like me to turn it over to Jeff so he can talk about parking policy.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Senior Vice President Sharon Iso. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senior Vice President Jeff Leatherman on the parking policy.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to cover a couple of points from our last presentation. As Ms. Iso has said, community members can go back last week when we presented both at committee and then also at our special called meeting, where I spent quite a bit of time talking a little bit about our economic development strategy and how not only parking, but this parking deck and future parking decks will impact and influence our economic development strategy over the course of time, and especially in our downtown area. We're thinking about new projects that are coming on board, Hill Street being one, West Alley is right behind us, and Chambray Hotel, all on the horizon in our downtown area, plus a tremendous amount of work in our midtown and east side of our community where parking and parking as a service to support our businesses will all be part of our economic development strategy moving forward. I wanted to make sure that we just cover for the community real quick 7 bullet points, and then I'll touch on the budget of items that we have moved forward with guidance from this mayor and council regarding our policies that we released and started to talk about as part of our fiscal year 25 budget. And what I really want to communicate both to the community and to those that are watching is we are slowing down the implementation of our fiscal year 25 downtown parking plan. We'll be meeting with our community to get some feedback on additional ways that we can support our businesses in and around the downtown community. We will continue to charge for parking at our existing locations, and that'll be the only place that we'll focus on charging for parking here in the foreseeable future until we bring some additional recommendations back to council regarding technology, which I'll talk back on the next page. But Canton Street, Elizabeth Way, and East Alley, currently we charge for parking at those locations. We will continue to charge for parking. We will be bringing some ordinances forward to help us support the enforcement of charging for parking, but again, it'll be limited to those 3 locations. City staff will also be doing some research and recommendations for technology so we can identify resident versus non-resident, and that will help inform future policies for this mayor and council. We'll be recommending that technology at Old Mill Park. We're also tackling an opportunity at Old Mill Park for how we could potentially implement parking and parking-related solutions to help with the traffic that we have and that we experience coming up really probably in the next month or so and throughout the remainder of the summer down at Old Mill Park. We know that our community is impacted, the park is impacted, and we believe that there are some parking solutions as we continue to do our research that will help support both the operation of the park but also the community and the surrounding neighborhoods of that park and facility. Again, we'll be updating some ordinances just related to our Canton Street and Elizabeth Way and East Alley. We may also include Old Mill Park as part of that as we continue to work through some of the solutions there. We'd like to transition East Alley into a pedestrian-friendly experience, and then also introduce some downtown ambassador-type programs where we can help solicit feedback from our community and also help navigate people around the downtown area when we're under construction over the next 13 months with our new parking deck. As it relates to our budget, just one bullet point there that we did forecast a $2.2 million budget. We've revised all of those budget projections. We do have $1 million budget opportunity, I will say, essentially a deficit that we need to work our way through. Not uncommon for a budget as the size of ours as we forecast our fiscal year 25 budget. We continue to refine our revenues, refine our expenses, and we'll do the same with the forecasted parking revenue. So we're working with about essentially $1 million deficit that we do have to tackle. We've already decreased our expenses. A lot of the expenses were associated with the expansion of downtown parking with technology, signage, and staffing, which we have reduced from the budget already as we sit here today. Those are the major points I wanted to cover as we set the stage for the conversation tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for an opportunity.
Thank you, Senior Vice President Jeff Leatherman and Senior Vice President Sharon Eisel. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone, for allowing us to make a quick, short presentation. At this point, I will open it up to the floor for all Roswell residents. I will call on you. I'll call on you before you come up. And I'm going to ask a favor of you. Please announce your name and where you live. And do me a favor, if I ask it again, because I'm writing it down, so I write down the notes. So just bear with me if I ask you again. So that's my first question. Yes, ma'am. You're right there. Raise your hand in the beautiful blue dress in the second row. That's you. Or blue top. Sorry, forgive me.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, and fellow Roswellians. I am Dr. Melody McLeod. I am an original owner of my home here in Roswell now for 29 and a half years. First, I just want to say that the service that we had for slain officer Jeremy Labonte was wonderful. The community and the city came out beautifully for him, and it was a beautiful service in support of him, his family, his brothers and sisters in blue, and all of our first responders that fill the church. Second quick thing, I would like to see if we could refund or reestablish the core program, which I heard had been discontinued. We loved it. It was a great experience. I think it would be great if we can get that back if it has been discontinued. Thirdly, quickly, about the parking, I, as a 29-year resident of Roswell, I'm in favor of us needing parking, but I really still don't feel that we should have to pay for, the Roswellans should have to pay for the parking. I would like to see that we have one parking decal per homeowner residence, not 3 or 4 cars per residence, but one. We can make it happen and let people who are visiting Roswell pay for the parking deck. We've paid for this with our taxes. Minimally, I'd like to suggest that senior citizens be allowed parking, but I think all Roswellians should be allowed to park for free. Last other thing before my final comment is I still don't know why we have to pay $20 to watch the people shred our documents at the recycling center when they're there to do their job and we're just going to stand there and watch. Now, my main reason for being here is, as I was here on October 30th, 2023, regarding incessant barking and growling from the neighbors' dogs, which is still ongoing, which has now been over 2 years at my corridor. I just would like to say I would like something to be done about it. And just so you can hear a little bit of what's been happening on my corridor, just because it wasn't observed, that's the thing, you guys have to observe it. But it doesn't mean it's not happening. And so I just want to share with you, and my apologies to those of you behind me, but I want you guys to see what's happening, not only to me. And when you hear this, I'm in my kitchen, and this is what I'm hearing inside my house. And I have a pretty large house, but this is what I'm hearing, and I want you to hear just a little taste of it.
And if they're outside with the dogs, you would think they would tell them to shut up. Unbelievable.
Remember, I'm inside my house recording this. Now, I'm going to stop because I'm going to forfeit some of my time because I really would like a response from some of you because I still have time. I had been at my kitchen counter seasoning turkey wings for 4.5 minutes, and Melody, just stay focused on what you're doing, just keep, and I couldn't concentrate. So I washed my hands, dried my hands, found my phone, went and started recording. That recording lasts 8.5 minutes. So I've got like 13, 14 minutes of that. So I'd like to know, I want to give you, what can be done about this?
Thanks, Dr. McLeod. I really
Any comments, sir?
appreciate, no ma'am, no comments from you. This is your night to make comments, and I really appreciate you coming. As you know, we actively are happy to engage with you on any and all matters of the city. I really appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.
I would like to hear from someone about this, though.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Janet?
Janet Russell, Roswell, Georgia, 52 years this month. I moved here in pollen heaven.
Congratulations.
The good news is we don't have to shovel pollen. I didn't really come prepared with notes. I came to listen, but I have a couple of comments about the presentation. One, I'm going to go on the record as saying the parking garage is in the wrong location. It's terrible. The design isn't that nice. It's not reflective of our historic district. It looks like a gulag. Secondly, I'd like you to consider solarizing the roof of the parking garage. There is a company in Atlanta that specializes in solarizing parking garages. Let's get in the 21st century, folks. You could provide enough electricity for all of Canton Street from a parking garage. What a concept. Thirdly, pedestrianizing the East Alley project. If you go back and look at the minutes of about 12 years ago, when the city and the DDA decided to spend $1.97 million to pave the East Alley, to make it a pedestrian area. It was not a public street. We had to take possession of it first. Then we put in pavers so the Cisco food trucks could back in. It will never be pedestrianized because it is a service alley for the restaurants that face Canton Street. And delivery trucks cannot park on Canton Street to deliver because it's one way in each direction. And no one's going to take a dolly through an entire restaurant to the back where the kitchen is. Secondly, they screwed up by making it a one-way street entry only from Canton Street, exit out to Norcross Street, and trucks cannot make a 90-degree turn right there when they enter. So they go onto Norcross Street and either park in the left turn lane and then unload their stuff and bring it in, or they back in down from Norcross Street to Canton's, to the East Alley. Rotting garbage, broken benches. You can say what you want that it hasn't been activated, but that's because there's nothing back there except the one restaurant that is actually the back door of the Elizabeth Way entrance. When they tried to make a patio, the city shut them down with that increase of capacity. So I think you need to look at the whole picture. Pedestrianization, I've been fighting for that since I moved here. I remember going to city council when it was at the visitor center, where the visitor center used to be, and saying, wouldn't this be cool? Roswell has 5,000 people. I think it would be nice to make it like a city ordinance or part of our planning that every single shopping center, school, subdivision, park, everything gets connected by a multimodal path. And I was laughed at. Imagine if 50 years ago, City of Roswell had done that and taken my advice, we would be a model for how a city grows. Right now, I still am waiting for sidewalks, and I was told 25 years ago I wasn't patient enough. Well, 25 more years, and I guess I'm not going to be patient enough either. As far as parking for residents, I've been asking for that down at the river. I've given up going to the river on the weekends. The parking lots are full of Bartow, Cherokee, lots of Cobb. The Willio Park is really a nicely kept park for the residents of Cobb County. You can never, there's 12 parking spaces, you can never get a parking space. I was told that we couldn't charge for parking down at the river because that was one of the conditions when we took over the land from Fulton County. I thought we leased it for like $1 a year and then we did all the improvements. Well, we're not asking you to charge for parking. We're asking you to put up some signs that say Roswell resident parking only and give us a sticker. For Pete's sake, I can't ever use the parks on the weekends. Forget it. It's impossible. But everybody else can. I see whole mother groups come from Cobb County and park in 30 cars so they can have Mother's Day on Tuesday. Why? Because they charge for parking in Cobb County. Now, I don't think that charging for parking for residents is going to deter us because most residents don't really go to Canton Street. They go other places because we know where all the secret places are that are better. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Mayor Wood, welcome.
Thank you, sir. My name is Jerry Wood. I reside at 10850 Spruce Road. I came tonight because I had a question, but I recognize that it is the policy of this mayor and council not to answer questions on Fifth Monday. So I'll ask you a couple of rhetorical questions. My first question is, why is this mayor and council choose not to answer questions? Now, I can understand if the answer goes beyond 5 minutes, and the time goes beyond 5 minutes, it would be inappropriate. But I still don't understand, when a citizen asks a question, why cannot they get an answer? I'm sure they have. I'm sure your staff or you may have an answer. And if you don't, you could say you don't have an answer and get to us later. But I think it would be welcome if you would answer our questions. And again, I came tonight because I had a question. I read last week that the city had approved $14 million to build a parking deck, and it showed a rendering. So I went to the city site to say, what's the site plan? Where is this building going? I couldn't tell where it was going from the rendering. I have searched the city's online information, and I still cannot find where this building is exactly going. I asked Marley Press, who was the city clerk for 20 years, to see if she could find out where this building was going. She couldn't. I called a couple of council members and did not get a site plan. So my question is exactly where is this building going? Because it does not show in the minutes, it does not show in the rendering, and I've got a question of where the building goes.
Mayor Wood, I can interrupt you if you don't mind. I'll show you where it is right now. Sharon, would you show the mayor, would you show the mayor where the building's going? That, the rendering that you have? The one that you, the site plan?
Thank you, sir.
Of course. This is rudimentary, crude, but it shows you exactly where the location of the parking garage is on this, on the physical site.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I searched and searched the city's approval of this $14 million and couldn't find it. So thank you for that. I appreciate that, but I would encourage you to entertain questions if they're simple from the floor. It would be welcome and would be helpful. And next time there is a approval of a project, it would be nice to have the site plan with the approval so citizens like me can understand a little more than what is going on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor Wood, as always. Appreciate your comments, Mayor Wood. Thank you so much. And obviously, the council and is free to answer questions as well as I am at any time, and the staff as well as often and it's been, it's not a policy not to answer questions. It's our policy to allow the residents to speak and to address the issues they want to address. We have an active policy of meeting with any resident, any business, anytime they want to meet and address any issue they want to address. There are people that come to these meetings sometimes that we've met with several times, and they'll still ask the same questions. And honestly, I don't want to give a public answer that makes the resident of the business look like in not a great position. So sometimes the best thing is just to be quiet, because I'm not interested in making people not look good. And it means, what I can tell you is that we actively, behind the scenes, will meet with anybody about any issue that they have in this city at any time. Staff will, council will, and myself will. And that is an open invitation. It is the opposite of hiding. I really ask and think and believe that this is your time. And it's your time to say the things that you want to say. It's not my time. It's not the council's time. It's not the staff's time. I gave a little presentation shortly, I hope it was 8 minutes, just to give a little pretext of the many things that we'd heard over the weekend from a bunch of people saying, hey, we got some questions about the presentation. And we figured that some of those would come up tonight. And I'm sure that they still will, and I'm sure it doesn't answer all the questions. And I thank you, Mayor Wood, for asking about the specific site selection. There's a lot more coming that you're going to get, obviously, on the parking deck. So I've got on enough. Who would like to speak next? Gail? Yes, ma'am. Welcome, Gail.
My name is Gail Bohannon McCoy. I live at 736 Bush Street, Roswell, Georgia. I have two issues that I have tonight, and I will start with Pleasant Hill Cemetery, which is a historical cemetery in Roswell, and it has been established, I'll say, late 1800s. And I was at a historical society meeting the other week, and I want to clarify that it was stated that the Pleasant Hill Cemetery was neglected. And I want to thank all of those that have been cleaning up, sending donations personally to help upkeep the cemetery. But my main issue is that we were told at one time that the city was going to be cleaning up the cemetery, and that was the memorandum of understanding. And so then it was changed, and they're upkeeping the other historical cemeteries in Roswell, but not Pleasant Hill Cemetery. And I just wanted to understand why some and not all historical cemeteries. I don't know if you will be able to answer that tonight, but
Let me give you a try.
Okay, go ahead.
I know you got more things, but let's see if you get an answer on that.
Okay.
And by the way, you probably know, talk about commitment to service. Nobody knows this, but do you know Councilmember Will? She's coming back. Oh, yeah, yeah. We'll have the time. Thank you, though, for catching it. Councilmember Will Mortland, sorry, Gail, if I dug in your time, we'll get it back. Councilmember Will Mortland actually cuts the grass himself, along with his son, at the Pleasant Hill Church. Now, Jeff, you might have some insight into this issue, because I don't, and I don't remember the history on it. Can you address anything in terms of the historical nature of what the city's done in the past, hasn't done in the past? Can you kind of address that real quick?
No.
Come on. Good to see you. With regards to the Pleasant Hill Cemetery, Ms. Bohannon is correct. We do maintain 2 cemeteries here in the community, and our Historical Society has identified on their website and then part of a lot of their volunteer and inventory, the Pleasant Hill Cemetery as well. It has largely been maintained by volunteers, as was indicated, Councilmember Morthland being one of them, and I think there's some in the audience who are also volunteers. The city has not, in recent history, to my knowledge, taken on any active role of maintenance at that cemetery. We did talk about it in the budget process, but we haven't to date taken on any active maintenance of that site.
Can I ask you a question, Jeff? So historically, the city, for whatever reason, did not include Pleasant Hill Cemetery in its inventory of cemeteries that it maintains.
That we maintained or funded through maintenance. So probably 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, we switched over from a contract maintenance service at 2 of the cemeteries to in-house, but at that time, Pleasant Hill was not part of that contract.
And what 2 cemeteries does the city actually maintain that are not city cemeteries?
We have Founders Cemetery, which is off of Sloan Street, in and around the old, the Mill Village area, and then we have the Roswell Historic Cemetery, which is here on Highway 9 in Woodstock. Those are the 2 locations we
So
currently
those 2, and the city, so the taxpayer does actually fund the maintenance of those?
Yes.
But it does, but the city has never done Pleasant Hill?
Not to my knowledge.
So Gail, if I'm hearing you correct, you're making, hey, we would like for you to start working, spending some money on the upkeep of the Pleasant Hill Cemetery. Is that right?
The city, yes.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, besides Councilmember Morthland cutting grass, I'll go to work on that.
Well, not only does Morthland, Groveway actually contributes money for the last few years, and we've already done a lot of maintenance on that cemetery. And other people have donated for the upkeep of that cemetery to the Roswell Historical Society. So I'm not going to get into that. But thank you, Councilman Morthland, Charles Grogan, and all of Groveway members that have been going, and others in helping keep the cemetery alive and looking beautiful.
And we'll go to work on your request.
Yes.
On trying to make that part of the inventory, the other 2, and make it a third that the city
Yes.
does maintenance on.
Yes, that'll make me happy.
Don't give us credit till we get it done.
But we're going to hold you to it. And Letterman, you could have stayed on up here, because my other issue is Doc's Cafe.
Yes, ma'am.
That started off in 2020, and it was been moved around and is now on Oxbow, kind of hidden behind. And I know it's kind of shabby now, so I don't know if you'll be able to move it or not. But from some community members, we would like for it to stay in the Black community as a historical site and be deemed as an historical site for the Black community. There's not a whole lot of Black history that is in Roswell that people can identify. When people come to Roswell, most of the time, all they see is white. Thank you for the excellent Roots program that goes on every year, but there's other things to see, and we would like to have Doc's Cafe put back in place.
So you've got our time. We're working on Doc's Cafe, and so wide open to, I'd like to have a very vibrant conversation. I think Senior Vice President Jeff Leatherman has an excellent idea, because I would like to make Doc's Cafe relevant. I'd like to make it active. I'd like people to know about it. I'd like people to visit it. We've got an ideal about that, but we would like to meet with everybody in the community about that ideal. As you know, it's not in good physical shape.
Right.
My concern is it being forgotten about, and so I want to make it activated. and have it be part of history, not just today, but history in the future.
Okay.
And tie that into other Roswell history so that it gets more people congregated to do it and kind of tied into our economic development plan. So I'd love to meet with
All
any
right.
and all people that want to talk about Docks Cave 8, because I think Jeff, we're going to give Jeff credit, or Will, I don't know which one of them. I think they have a great idea, and I want to talk about that.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Mary Robichaud, yes, ma'am. Welcome, Mary, and I'm sorry, I want to give you the right title. It is Representative Robichaud, so I apologize. Welcome.
No, I dropped that title. Now supposedly it's honorable, which is
Honorable.
silly.
Sorry.
My name is Mary Robichaud. I live at 2900 Roxburgh Drive. Been a resident of Roswell 33 years. I'm here about Pleasant Hill Cemetery, and I applaud stepping forward. For those of you who have never visited it, it is a beautiful setting. My husband and I have gone there. It's peaceful, it's quiet, the trees are gorgeous. Thank you for cutting the grass. It is actually not in deplorable condition. What's amazing is when the cemetery is documented as being formed in 1855, 1 year after the formation of Roswell, Georgia. We don't know how long people had been buried there, unfortunately. It was where our enslaved people were buried at that time. So when you think about Founders Cemetery, these are some of our founders also. When my husband and I walk around the grave sites, to see headstones of people who were born into enslavement and then died a free person. They have a beautiful little patio, as you know, with some benches that have been donated. That we sat there is gorgeous. Unfortunately, when we were there, the city doesn't even provide trash cans for the cemetery, unlike in the other two historical cemeteries. So I would hope that's part of the plan too. It's got a beautiful archway into it. It's actually, I'm assuming, not only do you cut the grass, but I'm assuming MIMS, which is the facility close by, cuts the rest of the grass. So it's a really nice place, but there's not even a markers out on the street from, I think it's Grimes Road, pointing you to the cemetery. I've been looking into, too, working with Gail at Grove Way. We're investigating how we can, I'm sure a lot of people do know, there's a historic black cemetery trail in Georgia. We have one of the oldest ones in the state of Georgia, right here in Roswell. And I think, again, that becomes that tourist, part of our tourist destination for various people who want to see that, walk through that, get that feeling of history. It reminds me when my husband and I were in Ireland and you walk among those grave sites, you just can imagine what people lived through. And I would applaud and hope that that does move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Mary Robichaud. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. In the purple. Yes, ma'am. Welcome. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, would it be okay if my assistant passed out some papers to share with you?
Of course.
Okay, great, thanks. I am Dr. Cynthia Seebacher. I am a dual licensed practitioner in the state of Georgia. I've been here 10 years for chiropractic and 26 years for being a licensed massage therapist. I'm the owner of the Academy of Clinical and Integrated Massage, a massage school dedicated to training future healthcare professionals. I believe my business license has been miscoded, and I would like to challenge such denial due to unfair competition or favoritism, violation of free market principles, and improper use of zoning laws. As a trade school, the NAICS category is 611519, most specifically massage therapist instruction. As a massage parlor, the NAICS category is 812199. The school is most definitely not a massage parlor nor a massage establishment. Gwinnett College has a Roswell campus specifically for massage therapy school students in the city of Roswell. My school is modeled after Gwinnett College and several other massage schools in the state of Georgia. The city attorney initially denied a business license due to students working on people, saying that it was against your laws now. So I've also provided all the Georgia rules from the Massage Therapy Board that's in your packet. Rule 345-8-01, requirements for a board-recognized massage therapy education program, states supervised hands-on instruction, where supervised means the supervisor is physically on site, qualified, and immediately available. Rule 345-6-02, the scope of practice of massage therapy students, states any student pursuing a certification as a massage therapist in an educational program may engage in the practice of services or activities of massage or massage therapy when such person is A, actively enrolled in a massage therapy program, B, designated by title indicating student status and may not represent themselves as a massage therapist or massage practitioner, and C, fulfilling uncompensated work experiences required for the attainment of certification. This is all in order to sit for licensing in the state of Georgia. Uncompensated means any person in student status may not intentionally or knowingly agree to accept any compensation, directly or indirectly, in cash or in kind, in the form of payments, gifts, or tips. The primary responsibility for the services provided for clients by the designated student rests with the licensed massage therapist, supervisor, or other authorized instruction. Documents of all service for clients and treatment plans must be reviewed and approved by the LMT supervisor. And finally, Georgia Code 43-24A-19 also specifies that a student is designated by title indicating status and is fulfilling uncompensated work experiences. I'm here because I have written several emails and I've only had that one response denying that we could be a massage establishment and saying they wanted us to be listed as a massage establishment instead of a trade school. I have not been able to have anybody call me back or email me back after providing all of this information.
Can I, Dr. Seebacher?
Please, yes.
Jamie, you in the back? Would you do me a favor? I'm going to set up a meeting with you and me next week. I'm going to
Okay.
jump all over this.
Perfect.
Seems like a very reasonable request. There might be a couple of little legal hurdles we got to figure out. I'm sorry about this. Sorry we caused you a problem. We'll get to the bottom of it, get it addressed. You'll come see me next week if you have time, if that's meets with
Absolutely, I will
your...
make the time. Thank you so much.
Jamie will come grab you in a minute.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Seebacher.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Just raise your hand. Yes, also in purple. It's a great color, a great liturgical color.
Hi, Mayor. My name is Donna Melcher, and I live at 720 Creekview Lane, just about 5 minutes that way. And I'm hoping today that we can have an update on the mold situation in the Roswell Housing Authority. I was at a council meeting several months ago, and I know that there was some action items taken, and to my understanding, that problem has not been abated. So I'd be curious about that, please.
Ms. Archer, hold on a second. Anybody up to speed on this? Jeff? Ms. Archer, I am not up to speed on that issue tonight. I apologize. I can tell you it has been addressed in many different ways, but I cannot tell you that I can address it with any confidence tonight to give you an answer of what progress has been made on it.
Thank you, and results are key. So I've got my email address there, and I'd be happy to receive an update.
If you'll bear with
on
me a
that.
second, let me finish my note on that.
Okay.
You want to address that?
Melcher, excuse me, Lee Hills, and I go to pretty much every single one of the Housing Authority meetings, and the mold that was talked about last year, October, November, was addressed and identified as mildew. There may be other but that was abated. And Gainesville Housing Authority Chairperson Beth Brown had personally had her team investigate that. Now, for a couple of reasons this year, the board has not met. One was Officer Labonte's service, and so all meetings were canceled that month. And the one that was March, where I know we're at the tail end right now, was canceled as well. So I haven't been at one to find out or hear about that. So there may be more, but I want to tell you, if you had heard about it in October and November, those or that issue, I can't remember if there were more than one, had been abated, and it was more of a wipe down. But that's all I know. So there may be more to that, and we can follow up on that.
And we'll follow up with you, and we'll follow up with the community. We'll send out a status of what actually is going on.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ms. Archer. Thank you. Thank you so much. And will you make sure I get her email so I don't forget that? Okay. Who else? Yes, ma'am. Welcome. Daryl.
Good evening, I'm Daryl O'Hare. I live at Arbor Creek subdivision. Just have a few things I just wanted to bring up since it's a catch-all. One, I wanted to say thank you for bringing the farmers market back to City Hall. Whoever was responsible, because thank you so much. I have enjoyed going to all the various locations. However, I just really enjoyed doing it here. It got me started on my own journey of buying local and fresh, and I even worked an entire season at one of the farmers that comes here at a different location. It was really hard work, so all the people who come, they really put a lot of work in to put up their things, so I'm excited to have that back here. I'm also happy to see that you do have a parking garage in place, however it's going to look, and that can be up to anybody, but I'm very happy to see that there has been a contract signed for that, and that will be proposed for being done, I think, within a year. I do hope that, I think I've stated it before, that parking, we have already footed the bill for the parking garage. Would like to see that the parking is not a paid parking space, it being across from Southern Post, which is paid. I have issues with that one, but I'll do that another time. But I hope that we can really come to a reasonable plan that lets the Roswell residents who've already paid an enormous amount of money for a parking garage, that we'll get a real benefit out of it by not feeling like, oh, we're gonna have to pay even more. But I'm very happy that we're moving forward on that, and that's a big step. Let's see. I know that the historic cemeteries has been brought up, but I just wanted to reiterate my own support that Pleasant Hill Cemetery is not in addition to our historic cemeteries. If anything, it should really take some precedence right now. Our history, I think we sometimes just get things wrong. And I really want to make sure that we get that cemetery under our own care and attention in our budget, so that we are putting our actions behind our words and really putting it as a forward thinking while also looking back. We need to work together, and I think that is something that we could easily do. If there was a memorandum of understanding, I would like to see that memorandum of understanding to have it cared for in perpetuity. Is that the right word?
Yes, ma'am. Perpetuity.
In other words, a memorandum of understanding that has no end in regard to Pleasant Hill Cemetery. So I would add that. And then Doc's Cafe, I mean, I would love to see that before anything else, to be honest. If we made the move, we intended to do something with it and haven't come up with the funds for it, we need to find it. We found things for other historical structures. This one probably means more to me in my heart than any of the others. This is personally for me, but I know that this community deserves the attention and respect of having that cafe preserved and given its due, and also to celebrate the vibrancy and the success of our community. And then, let's see if there was anything else. I thought there was something else, but, oh, I wouldn't, my last thing. I take a little issue with there's a $1 million deficit coming up. I don't think that's a deficit opportunity. I think it's a deficit. So I think we just refer to it as a deficit. And no, I'm referring it to as it's a deficit. Let's just look at what it says in the budget, and let's hope we come up with opportunities to hire people that are coming out of college, who come up with great ideas, who are looking for jobs, especially now, and how we can maybe manage that in the future going forward. So that's just one idea of mine, but I'm really excited about the contract, and I am also excited about the farmers market. You'll see me there. Thanks. And don't forget to go to the biking event.
Bike Roswell.
Right. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you so much. Jeff, quick question, two things. Doc's Cafe, did we encumber that money? We encumbered the money to activate what we were hoping to do with Doc's Cafe. Did we not, or am I wrong on that?
So the money that we had encumbered was from probably 2 budget years ago. It's roughly about, and I'll look over my shoulder with Stephen, I want to say about $75,000 for kind of the initial assessment of how we manage Doc's Cafe, but not the full build-out or restoration of Doc's Cafe.
So that money's not encumbered today?
What's the number? It's about 75? 65? Okay.
Yeah.
About $65,000. That's correct.
And what's the number with the ideal, the grand Leatherman, Morthland vision that we want to present?
Yeah, depending on how we activate the space, it can range from really anywhere from probably $1 million to $1.5 million and even upwards of $2 million. But we really want to make sure that...
That's good. I just want to stop there. So $1 million, $1.5 million. So stay there. Where's Bill Godshall? Bill, come on up here with Jeff. Jeff, don't go anywhere. So what I want you to know, and, again, I'll use this word trust. We are Bill's going to do a presentation on April 14th to demonstrate to you the financial health of the city. Bill, I want you to, as a CFO who came in from the private sector, a lot of government experience, talk a little bit about budgets for a second, because Jeff's very transparent when he says, look, calls it a budget experience, budget deficit. But when you have a $200 million, $100 million budget, there are a lot of things moving. Just for example, like we're looking at the possibility of trying to find a way to make Doc's Cafe happen. That may happen in 25. You can say where that money's going to come from. Well, Bill, talk a little bit about budgeting and the dynamic process of budgeting, because it's not a static process.
No, sir, the budget is not a static process. The first thing I would point to is simply the health of the balance sheet of the city and our ability to generate cash flow from that balance sheet, as well as our AAA credit rating. Also, as each month progresses, we have an insight into whether we're performing better or worse than certain budget categories. We've looked at the shortfall or the deficit, as one citizen called it. We do think on a $100 million general fund budget that we should be able to find $1 million to compensate for that. As far as something like a capital project to move the cafe, again, that should be a manageable problem, manageable situation.
Et cetera, et cetera. We do it all the time. There's a lot of things that come up. There are a lot of things that we move money based upon priorities, based upon the desires and wishes of the people of Roswell. Bill, thank you, sir. I look forward to your presentation on April the 14th to the city about basically the financial stewardship and health of the city's finances. Thank you very much.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Daryl. I appreciate that, and I appreciate all those great comments. Thank you. So, who's next? Yes, ma'am, in the middle with the yellow card there, who doesn't have purple on. Welcome.
My name is Courtney Morris Rozier. My address is 540 Hembry Road. I have 3 questions and a comment. Can the city's budget information page be updated with the 2025 final budget document? The proposed version is still posted with a note that the approved version will be added later, at a later date.
Do I answer the first question?
Sure.
Yep, stop your time.
If you.
Yep. First question, Bill, will that be in the April 14th presentation? You're going to do that. Is that part of the April 14th presentation, the question that Courtney just asked?
I believe the question is, will we post the final budget to the website?
Yes, the proposed budget's there. Okay,
It will be? Okay, yes, ma'am, April 14th.
okay. It'll be on the budget information page?
Will it be on the budget information page? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you. The budget information page says that the budget process involves the public with several public meetings and work sessions. When are those work sessions and public meetings for 2026? And can those meetings and work sessions be posted to the budget information page?
Let me answer that. Let's stop our time again. So Courtney, those dates are not on the table yet for the 2026 budget because, you know, we moved the fiscal year to match the calendar year, which means January 1. So my guess is that Don Stevens, Bill Godshell, David Davidson, underneath Randy's leadership, will set up meetings with the senior staff, with Leatherman and Izzo and the rest of the team, probably for, and I'm assuming here, will it be posted? Yes. Will the public be invited? Yes. And I'm going to give you some rough dates because these dates are just off the top of my head. Probably starting in August.
Okay.
Probably would be my guess.
Yeah, because I think for the 2025 year, it looked like it was just the readings and the
2024,
voting,
that's
but-
right. 2024, there were not. 2023, we had public workshops. 2024, we did not have public workshops.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll tell you, 2023, I got it done. 2022, we got it done partially. 2023, we got it fully baked in terms of done with the public. 24, we did not, or 25. And to your question, in 26, it'll be public, it'll be open, and maybe start in July. So the earlier you can get it, because they're going to be pushing. Don's already working on the budget for 26. So yes, ma'am, there'll be open workshops on those, and those dates will be posted and will be advertised so that people can come to those.
If they could, it would just be great to see them kind of all on that budget information page, so it's all kind of consolidated and easy to reference. That would be perfect. I appreciate that. My third question is, will the city staff present at council meetings, and it sounds like they will, updates on 2025 revenues and expenditures, and can those dates please also be added to the budget information page? So kind of thinking like at church and with my own company, we have quarterly town halls, there's conferences at church, and there's budget presentations. So wondering if the same thing happens.
Can I do you one better?
Calendar, and
Can I
then
do you
we
one
can
better?
have them added to the page.
So, Courtney, what my request has been, that's why Don Stevens is here, that's why Bill Godshell is here, is, so when we look back, sorry, I'll give a little commentary, and Bill's going to address this on his April 14th meeting. From my perspective, look, the city's had a pretty healthy financial history, but there's a lot of pieces to that equation. It's been fairly, I would call it, for example, it never took advantage of historically low cost of money over the last 20 years. It was a missed opportunity from the standpoint. A lot of lost, we fell back on infrastructure costs, et cetera, et cetera. So, but part of that was when we got into this and started looking at finance was it's very hard to peek into the financial structure historically. So one of the things that Bill and Don have come into is to say, well, I said, look, from a perspective, I need a monthly reporting process, like a real transparent monthly reporting process. And I say, I need that. The residents need that. So what's coming? And Don and Bill, when is that coming? Because it's soon. What we're going to come is where every month and every quarter, every month there'll be a reporting to the senior staff. So that, by the way, if you're a director of transportation, you have clarity of where your numbers are. That's not been the past. Like, it's kind of been a big mumbo jumbo, year thing. So one of the things is to give the operators clarity into the numbers. And the second is to give the residents clarity to the numbers. So the short answer is this: yes, not only are you going to get quarterly, you're going to get monthly. You're going to get monthly financial reporting on the health of the city, P&L, G&L, balance, the whole deal, so that you can be able to say, oh, now I know with clarity where we are, not fill in the blank numbers, not, from a 12-month perspective. Governments do that a lot. People don't realize if you're in the finance world and you get in the government world, you go, what in the world are they doing? And a lot of times it's fill in the blank on a 12-month process, not real reporting on a monthly basis. That's why Bill's here. Bill is here fixing that right now, like actually fixing the undergirdle of the financial structure of the city from a reporting and information standpoint, so that operators, that is the people who run the city daily, can actually know the status of, am I doing good or am I not doing good? from a financial perspective. That's coming. So if I didn't mean to shortcut you, but I think we're going to give you more than what you're answering.
Great.
We're going to give you monthly financial reporting.
I loved it. I heard you use the word transparency, and I love that.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Courtney?
All righty. For my comment, I have a comment regarding the parking.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say that I support parking at all the city facilities, which include but are not limited to City Hall, Cultural Arts Center, all historic homes, parks, recreation centers, to remain free parking. I think any paid parking for the parking deck plans, any of those plans, should include free parking hours if we are going to be moving to a pay for parking system. I also think that there should be exemptions for residents until the bond is paid. I also believe, and I ask, that any revenues that are collected through pay parking would be used and earmarked exclusively for the operation, maintenance, and repair of the parking deck and any of those pay parking areas. I also believe that current methods for funding today's parking, as far as maintenance and repair, that those should just should remain in place so that those parking spaces remain free and just continue on.
Would you say just repeat for me, because I didn't write down, the ones that you said that are free, that should remain free, would you repeat?
So sure, so off the top of my head, thinking where I park today when I come to festivals and come to visit the museums and things like that. So it would be City Hall when I come, like for the meetings, and unfortunately my daughter had a driver's ticket, a speeding ticket, so we had to come for that during the week. But everyone was very nice, let me say that. It was actually for a situation, a bad situation. It ended up not being so awful. Everyone was very pleasant and helpful during that process in the municipal court proceedings for her parking ticket, but I digress. Let's see, so we talked about City Hall, the Cultural Arts Center, let's see, parks.
Can I ask you a question?
Centers,
I think I
museums.
got it. So the three places in 2019 that the city said, these are the three paid parking places, and Jeff, they are? That we're going to be doing this year? Yes. Kansas Street, Elizabeth, East Alley. So in 2019, the city said, hey, we're going to do paid parking on those three places.
And I'll be honest with you, I did not know that. And so when I saw some Park Mobile things, I went to get my hair done at Maddie's, and I saw Park Mobile, and I was like thinking that was the paid parking already put into place. So planned, I did not realize, so I probably, telling myself, have disobeyed having to pay for the parking, because I didn't notice it, I guess, until these conversations came up, that there even was the paid parking in those places.
But you're good, like at those, other than those three, you're saying, hey, remain free. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
I would say, yeah, the current city, especially those that are like City Hall, the Cultural Arts Center, museums, the historical homes, Parks and Rec, I think should all remain free.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Courtney.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yes, ma'am. Jason, welcome.
Jason Yowell. So I'm here to talk about parking, but not the way you think I might be here to talk about it. Really more personal. I live at the corner of Pine Grove Road and a small subdivision called Old Oak Common. And I have two lots that have been consolidated into one, but I'm on the corner. And I'm bordered on Pine Grove with a decel lane. The decel lane is clearly marked with signs put up by the city of Roswell: no stopping, no standing, no parking, with a tow-away icon. Now, I've had a lot of problems with people parking around my house because I don't have a house directly across the street from me on our street. There's a strip of land that runs from my next neighbor across the street on the other side of the creek. And I chose these 2 lots because I don't want to look at anybody else's house. I don't want to see things that I don't want to see. It's very private, even though I'm on the corner. But people seem to mistake this as, let's park our cars or our trucks or our construction vehicles across the street from this house, because there's no house across the street from it. And they like to park in the decel lane. We can't see the traffic coming up Pine Grove Road when people are parked in the decel lane. It's a safety issue. That's why the signs are there. I have complained repeatedly and called the police for people parking, whether it's a utility truck pulling up in the middle of the night with the lights flashing 2 feet from the curb to work on a house that's not in our subdivision, or it's the surveyors for the Pine Grove work parking on the grass across the street, despite the fact the city ordinance clearly says no parking on the grass in residential areas. And then there's the decel lane, which is the big pain in the butt for me. I like to think that the residents, the business owners, and the police are on the same team. People who come to this town to make money and extract money from Roswell, they're not on our team. Now, I'm not casting aspersions on that. As they said in The Godfather, after all, we are not communists. But when people who don't live here and are coming here to make money decide that they're going to use our neighborhoods as they wish for their own benefit because they don't want to plan accordingly, and the police come out and go, well, we're not going to enforce that, my mind is rather boggled. Recently, the subdivision that's being built about 200 feet down the street from me, that I actually supported the variances that made it possible for him to get your approval. And I come out one morning and they've got trucks lined up in the decel lane, literally wrapping the corner. I walked down there, I said, you can't park there. It's not only illegal, it's a safety problem. Somebody from RDOT was there. He said, I'll move my truck. I'm really sorry. He couldn't have been nicer about it. The paving company just looked at me like, you know what? I don't care. I come back. I was very nice. I showed him the signs. I said, you can't park here. I come back later. Asphalt trucks lining the decel lane up and down my neighborhood inside the subdivision. And I really got pissed. I called the police. They've never issued a ticket. All the times that I've called and I've said, I want the ordinances enforced. I want the state laws enforced. No, we don't really want to do that. Why? Because somebody else wants to take advantage of what we have. They don't get a ticket. You know who got a ticket? I did. I have to go to court in 2 days, and I got cited for parking in the decel lane. I didn't actually park in the decel lane. I called the police. They didn't come. I called them again. They said, well, we're busy. It's a low priority item. I said, I can help you with that. I pulled my truck out. I pulled it right across Pine Grove Road to block the traffic because I knew that would force the issue.
Jason, thank you. Jason, I will set up a meeting with you, myself, Senior Vice President Jim Conroy, our police chief, Senior Vice President Joe Panino, and Senior Vice President Jeff Lederman. And I'll follow up on your issue, on this specific issue, because it's the first I've heard of it. I'm sorry.
Randy and I had a couple of long conversations
Well, of
about
course,
it.
the CEO would be there if he chooses to be.
Oh, he's already heard the whole story.
All right, well, I'll follow up on this personally.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jason. Jamie, you make sure. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am, in the black, I'm sorry. Oh, say, hey, Lindsay, welcome. How are you this evening?
I am doing well, thank you very much. I am Lindsay Coates, 715 Old Park Place. I had no intentions of saying anything this evening, but when it came up about having the monthly reporting and the dashboard, how do you intend to make sure that that is accurate and up to date, considering the bond dashboard has not been so historically?
Great question. Comms, Jeff? Sharon? Thanks, Sharon.
I'll just, as an update for the bond dashboard, I apologize. We had a change of consultant on the bond project, and unfortunately, we've been dealing with technology, who owns what. I don't know if I can adequately express the frustration I have with that. We have recently resolved it. We are restoring links and getting control of it here in-house. So I apologize for that, but we expect very shortly to have the bond dashboard live. It has been extraordinarily frustrating, so you have my apologies.
And by the way, just as an aside, thanks to Sharon's leadership as a steward of your money, it means that you don't continue to do business with someone that you're not getting the results for, and as a government acting like as an active agency is saying, rather than just continuing the insanity of actually stopping and doing something for it. There's a negative consequence that's come of it. Thanks, Sharon, for admitting that. Bill or Jeff, do you want to address why this would be different on a financial reporting perspective than, say, for example, working with a vendor externally on the bond?
So, two things. One is we're going to institute a reconciliation process between the bond spending that goes on Sharon's our underlying general ledger system. So that's how we'll ensure the accuracy of the information. So if it's coming through our GL, it's going to be reconciled to what goes into the project. I'm sorry. So the first will be the verification or the assurance of accuracy of the information. What goes into the bond dashboards will be reconciled into the accounting system. So that's the two-way match to make sure that what goes up there is complete and accurate, the objectives of all financial reporting. And then as part of our quarterly reporting process, we will also be looking at the performance of our projects. How have they performed against budget? How have they closed out? How are they in process? What's our forecast for future projects?
But I think to Lindsay's question, so how's that different? Like, hey, Kurt, you said there's going to be monthly reporting. You said there's going to be monthly reporting. How? By the way, and thanks, Sharon, for that very excellent explanation on the problem on the bond. So how's that different? How are you going to be any good on the bond? I mean, on your general financial reporting every month. Why should I trust you? Why should I believe you?
So part of the monthly financial reporting is the assessment and closing of all fund accounting, including bond funds and general fund. And then the actual project reconciliation process will be a quarterly process because they tend to move a little bit slower.
That's all internal as well.
It's an internal process, yes. But as far as reporting goes, it's my intention at some point to incorporate it into the quarterly reporting package.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Sharon.
Will you also have personnel-related budget items on there as well that were necessary?
I'm not sure I understand. So the budget will include operating and salaries, personnel, right? Plus fringe,
and
plus.
Personnel numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a coding process so that they get coded into the projects as they work on them.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. That answer your question?
Absolutely, it did. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name's Gus Haydorn. I live at 175 Jade Cove Drive, Roswell. We talk a lot about progress. We don't talk a lot about sustainability. And we have an environmental crisis, whether we acknowledge it or not. We've missed some opportunities. When the Mimosa board put a solar roof on the house there, becoming the oldest net zero house in the nation, we had an opportunity to talk about solar energy and moving away from fossil fuels. which the whole country needs to begin to think seriously about. We missed an opportunity a few years ago when what is now Old Rucker Farm was offered to Roswell, and Roswell turned it down. We have some major issues with invasive plants on an awful lot of our property. We're really not paying any attention to our tributaries. And we have some real opportunities there to create trails along those tributaries to connect our neighborhoods and to give our people opportunities to go walking without having to get in their automobiles. So I would just like you to give some thought to what opportunities we can create together to make this a more pedestrian city, to make it a healthier city, and to make it a more environmentally friendly place. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask you a question, Gus? Gus, can I ask you a technical question? When was the Rucker Farm piece? When did that occur?
It was originally established at the old Harry's supermarket. And the lady that began that was forced to move because Harry's, yes, the
But
whole.
you mentioned the city had an opportunity. What year was that? Do you know?
I don't know the year. It was probably, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago perhaps.
Okay.
That's a guess. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But the lady that runs it for Alpharetta now originally offered that to the city of Roswell.
Can I ask you a question? Because I know you're very active in the city and done a lot of good things in the city. So, and this is not my area of expertise. Christine Hall would have more expertise in this. And by the way, Christine deserves credit for the farmers market massively in recruiting Christina DeVictor. Christine's done a lot of work on the invasive plant issue. My understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong, don't we have a pretty aggressive policy as a city towards invasive plants on most of our property in terms of our plantings?
Not that I've seen, sir. I mean, there may be efforts that are in place, but we're covered up with privet. We're covered up with English ivy. We've got trees that need to be taken care of because the English ivy is all over them. We've got Elaeagnus. It's not a problem that's unique to the city. It's all over the country, but we've got property now that could be usable, that could be park property. If you go just past the mill, that's a whole area of privet. The area down Hogwalla Creek, we've got ruins that are hidden in the privet. You know, it's an opportunity to get rid of that stuff and to plant native plants, which we sorely need.
Let me just address a little bit. David's not here tonight. If I could get the council to agree with me, which they don't usually, they just kind of push back. But we've all been working on kind of projects, like the major projects, the major missions, kind of tying into the vision. And one of them, Gus, is Slow Down in Roswell. And you say, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, Slow Down in Roswell is a comprehensive project to not only slow us down, to slow down our visitors, slow us down, particularly in our neighborhoods and our secondary roads. But tied to that is the plan to create more and more. And this council has already approved a lot of projects that probably are not very publicly well known, a lot of projects that are multi-use trails. And you're going to see under Slow Down Roswell, you're going to see a comprehensive project submitted by this elected body for basically creating more and more walkability throughout the entire city, including in neighborhoods. Now, the council's got to agree to that. They got to fight through that. There's a lot of it, but we're working on that right now because I'm in complete agreement with you. I want more walkability throughout, not just downtown, but throughout the entire city. I want more connectivity. You're going to see, I don't know if we did it the other night, or we're going to do it where you're going to see the connection. Oh yeah, you saw the connection on Hardscrabble, right? That connection ties into, perfect example of tying into the high school road, Woodstock and King, And the next illustration you're going to see next year is the ongoing of that all the way to downtown. Completely on board with you. That's a big deal. It's a big deal from a quality of life perspective. It's a big deal from a sustainability perspective. It matters to having a really prosperous, wonderfully, community where people could get to one another, regardless of town, not just in the car. 100% on board with you. So you're going to see, and it's going to fall underneath, slow down in Roswell. So I'm going to let you know. The second thing, what you mentioned, tributaries. So Sharon, and Brian's not here, Brian Watson, but Sharon is, this city, believe it or not, Gus, is at the forefront of really of cities working on storm, because it's my opinion that the sleeping giant that's out there that most people aren't paying attention. You mentioned tributaries. I would tell you it's storm. I think stormwater is the great potential cataclysm out there that's waiting to really cause just massive ruin on regular residential communities, particularly ones that have ages of 30 years plus of inventory of housing stock, because the planning just wasn't done correctly for storm. And you're going to see more and more pressure. And under Sharon's leadership, this city for the last 2 years has been working on long-term plans of how to deal with that, because it's a money issue. It's a lack of planning issue, and the solve is money. And the reality is that most HOAs don't have the money. It falls on private land. And we recognize as a government, we're going to have to be smarter than the problem and get involved in this and solve for this issue. So thank you, sir, for bringing that up.
One other thought,
Yes, sir.
one thing that I tried to promote when I was on the Mimosa board was making our historic district a more pedestrian-friendly place. Mimosa Boulevard is probably our most pedestrian-friendly street right now, but the city has chosen to build parking lots there between Mimosa and Bullock, and we seem to be encouraging the automobile rather than the pedestrian in that situation.
I would submit to you that, Gus, 2 years ago, we did the impossible. We got the state to lower the speed limit on Mimosa. The state has very limited ability to change its speed limit if it's not a, if the state has certain requirements, and the police is involved, the police and transportation involved on this sort of time, that make it very hard for municipalities, kind of the exact opposite of home rule. So we can put down a speed limit, but we can't enforce it. Mimosa is a perfect example where really 2 years ago, our DOT under Jeff Littlefield and our police chief, Jim Conroy, got the we changed the speed limit to 25 and then got the state to agree to it. That's a rarity. And it's a perfect example of, we recognize the same thing you do. We want to slow down Mimosa. We want Mimosa to have more walking traffic. If there's cars there, we want them traveling at a much slower speed. And there are a lot of pieces you're going to see us roll out underneath Slow Down Roswell, where it's going to be very clear to our residents and to our business community and to those who visit our city or come through our city, measures we're going to take to slow it down in Roswell for a host of reasons. And Mimosa is a perfect example of that. Mimosa, that's why Christine Hall and David, sorry to touch it, all these things tie together. That's why this city is spending $20 million of your money on the Pine Grove project, because of the Cobb County interfacing. The Cobb County interfacing has brought tremendous amounts of cut-through traffic, more speed, more cut-throughs. And by the way, it's the second highest, was arguably the first or second highest speeding area, place where speeding is abused in the city, Gus. And so Christine came together with a plan with Jeff Littlefield, and David Johnson was on board, and they cut a great deal, put a $20 million project on board, got the approval of the rest of their colleagues on council, and so we've got a $20 million project coming on Pine Grove, and that project is traffic calming. It is traffic calming. It's about slowing down the traffic that comes in from Cobb County, which goes on Mimosa, right, or Highway 9, recognizing that's a real problem, and how do we deal with that? So I'm sorry if I took too much, if I added too much to your time up there. You're probably ready to go 5 minutes ago.
Well, it's important. Traffic's our biggest problem. Thank you. Thank you very
Gus.
much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am, with the American red, white, and blue. I think it's right. Yeah. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Ashley Glass, and I've lived here for 27 years. I live on Wavetree. I've just got a couple of questions and a couple of comments. The first thing is just kind of a comment, but I am very concerned with our large deficit and what we are going to do to overcome that deficit. That's my comment. I'm very concerned about that because I do not want our taxes raised. For 27 years that I have lived here, I've also seen Alpharetta, Norcross, Woodstock grow all around us, and I really feel, I know I'm hearing what you're saying, that we're doing things, but I really feel that we have been in the slow lane for years, and so I'm really hoping that we're going to join all the other cities around us. Again, this is a comment. The parking building does not match the city. It actually, for those of us who are native Atlantans, if you've seen the prison on Memorial Drive at 285, that's what it looks like. The other thing is, so I'm an antique appraiser. When the city bought Mimosa,
And anti what? I'm sorry.
an antique appraiser,
Okay, thank you.
that's my
Yes,
job.
ma'am.
And when the city bought Mimosa, I did the appraisal, and I think that the city is really losing money. We are not doing anything with our historic homes. We have the same, people are not going to come back over and over to these historic sites if we have the same thing every single year at these homes. This is a huge thing that could be for Roswell. It's one of the reasons why I moved here. And we're doing nothing with these properties. I mean, we could have classes there. We could do so much with those. And they're literally just sitting there, and people are not coming to do the tours anymore because people have already done the tours, and it's the same thing. So we have got to figure that out. You are losing, by just having them sitting there, you're losing money. We're having to keep up those buildings, but you need to do something. Y'all need to have, get together, get together with historians that are in our community and come up with ideas for these homes, because you're really just losing out on so much that these could bring in so many things to the city. Thank you.
Ashley, thank you. Thank you so much, Ashley. This is one reason why I may not run for mayor again, because it is so incredibly frustrating from a resident to a resident's perspective to exactly everything you just mentioned. By the way, large deficit, there's not a large deficit. The city's never been in better financial shape. We're going to demonstrate that on April 14th. I think what we've unpacked, for example, the city unpacked where over $20 million of your money had been spent over the course of the past 10 years supporting other cities' pension funds. We discovered that. We corrected that. To me, that's financial stewardship at a high level. Being able to have priority-based budget or zero-based budgeting and actually execute that in a very, very static financial system, that's a significant improvement. The reason I ran for mayor, the significant most reason I ran for, was exactly what you stated, Ashley. For 20 years, 25 years under the two previous administrations, this city had been paralysis. It came up with lots of plans, but it was unable to take action. It was unable to do the things it needed to do, and you're exactly right, Ashley. Alpharetta, Milton, Johns Creek, you name it, Sandy Springs, just leaped ahead of us on the economic side. It's one of the reasons. So the cornerstone of what we've been doing, and I would point to you to my left, like the Hill Street development. It's a perfect example. When we came in, we inherited a 1.33 acre development on the corner right here of Canton Street and Hill Street. 1.33 acres, 96 apartments standalone. That's what we inherited. On April the 14th, we're going to bring you the next generation of a PSA of a multi-dimensional mixed-use development with not only apartments, but $1.5 million to $2 million townhomes, 80,000 square feet of retail, 40,000 square feet of office, a true transformative product to add to the dynamic economic activity of this city in the downtown. That's real work. We're about to deliver. I don't know why. I don't know how more economically oriented you can be. This city's already announced that it's going to launch a sports stadium anchored entertainment district larger than the Battery. That's a $1 billion to $2 billion project. I don't know how that doesn't have value, Ashley. That's why, to me, as like you can say, well, you guys aren't doing anything. I don't know. To me, that's just like, I don't understand that. I really don't. Yeah, come on up.
Lots of residents. Again, I have been here 27 years, and I talk to a lot of my friends and neighbors. And so what I'm hearing is we've bought Hartscrabble. We've bought the one across from Target. Nothing is happening. And then we're going to start Hill Street. Well, what about all the other projects? I mean, like, if you've lived here for a long time, we have been stagnant. And then you're saying this, and we are seeing all these things happen, or you're buying all these things, and nothing's happening. Like, what's happening with the one across from Target? What's the plan for that one?
So I just mentioned Hill Street to you, and you just blew by it as though it meant nothing. That's what you say, all my friends, and so I'd say, yeah. So tell me the Hill Street development has no meaning, no value.
This is the first thing I'm hearing about Hill Street.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how much more we can talk about it. It's been
Okay,
very
so what's happening to the one across from Target?
But why is Hill Street not relevant? Because Hill Street was an existing 1.33 acre, 96 apartments. This elected body and senior staff dramatically changed that project so it'd have economic viability for the city.
Okay, great, great.
Does that not matter?
It absolutely does. But again, we're buying all this land, and
So
you
what
would say we're not in a deficit, but that's not what I was seeing online looking at budgets. So we're not in
Where
a
did you
deficit?
see that? Well, you saw this in a deficit on our budget?
Yeah, online. Again, you'll have to apologize. I'm actually
No.
blind in this eye.
Sorry.
So I'm not,
No, take your time.
Yeah, I'm going to let somebody else talk about budget.
That's okay.
Again, it's
No, no.
You know, but I want to know, okay, you're going to throw Hill Street out there. I want to talk about the Hartscrabble. I want to talk about the one across
I'll
from
have to talk about
Target.
Bowen in 92. So $1.5 billion deal development
Yeah,
for this city is of no value.
and you're talking about Hill Street.
No, I'm talking about the USL sports-anchored Roswell Entertainment District,
Okay.
right?
Right.
That's of no value from an economic
And
perspective?
when is that going to be built?
That is going to be announced probably on May the 12th.
And
It's
when's it
already
gonna-
been announced.
When are we
We've
going
already
to start building it? When is it going to be finished? That's the thing, is that we have all these ideas. I
These-
feel like,
no, these aren't
I'm sorry,
ideas.
I feel
These
like
are-
our
these are
city's kind of
confident-
like has ADHD or something. We have all these ideas, and I feel like nothing's happening.
Is your criticism of the past or the current?
Both.
Okay. Well, tell me what the criticism of the current is so I can learn from that. Because I really want to understand that. Because when you said these things, that's why I said literally. Because I saw those things, I had the same complaints as a resident. Like, I saw stagnation, and I saw one-off projects with no strategy. So the first thing we
There
did.
still is stagnation. If you look, I mean, like, I went to Norcross just recently, and there is just booming. I mean, it's just like, wow, what happened to Roswell? Again, somebody that's been here for 27 years, the little bit of projects we're doing does not compare to Alpharetta, Woodstock, and Norcross. They don't. I mean, maybe they do to you because we're actually doing something, but it doesn't. When you go there and people are literally not coming to Roswell anymore like they used to. They're just not. I mean, if you go to these other places, they're packed. And we're only packed maybe on Friday and Saturday night on Canton Street with people that are, just kind of like alive after 5. Well, that's changed, from family time. And, again, that's a whole nother thing. But again, these are just my comments, and this is what I'm hearing, and so I am sharing.
No, I thank you for your time, and I thank you for sharing. So I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
Parking, I don't like it. Looks terrible. Not doing anything with historical buildings. By the way, just FYI, $10 million activation plan. So we are, to your point, I put it to the council 2 years ago. You have these historical assets. Either get into the historical business or get out of the historical business. The city's paid a lot of money. By the way, I forget what's over $1 million a year in terms of operational cost of maintaining these buildings. So that doesn't make sense. And we looked at the numbers 3 years ago and 2 years ago, and the amount of visitors to some of these historic homes was honestly not even worth repeating. It was so small. So I put it to the council and said, either get into the business or get out of the business. And they said, we want to get into business. I said, well, then we have to have a plan. Jeff Leatherman, Senior Vice President, has come up with an activation plan. It's already in place. Jeff, you want to address some of the things that we're doing on the historic homes? Because I think it's a very good point, and it's worth repeating. But I will tell you, like, literally, one of my conclusions, these things get said all the time, and like, we're not a marketing agency. Like, we're not Coca-Cola.
But you hired one.
No, we didn't. We hired no, that's not true. We hired an economic czar. We hired an economic consultant. That's not.
I read their website, and all it says is about marketing. It actually didn't say anything about economics.
Yeah, so that Peter Sorkoff from SEER exactly is the cornerstone, the tip of the spear of our economic plan. And that investment, in terms of the return on investment to you as a taxpayer, is substantially good. But that's not marketing. That's not communications. Comms is something the city takes on. But the city is not engaged in trying to propagandize its people. The city is just simply trying to pass on information. And you're saying, hey, I don't hear that information. It's the same old, same old. That's incredibly challenging and frustrating for us when we're doing the work and you're saying, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't see it. Like Jeff's about to give you a plan that's been very active, very aggressively worked on, a lot of money spent on, and a lot of time. And to your point, it's like, well, okay, and so what?
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll just cover kind of the historic park activation plan. Really surrounds our Founders Park vision, and it combines all of our properties together. So it combines Barrington Hall, Holly Hill that we acquired a couple of years ago, along to Mimosa, and then also over to Bullock, and includes Town Square. Town Square was our first area of investment, just over $500,000 of new park and park enhancements in that space. And then we worked on Mimosa. Mimosa has a new driveway entrance, has the first and second floor completely redone, and Mr. Malone, our Parks Director, will be embarking on really the enhancement to Mimosa that will allow us to activate that property for special events. Ideally, we'll be hosting anywhere from 200 to 250 people on that property after that project is done, and includes activation of the entirety of the space. One of the first actions a couple years ago that this council also took was to essentially eliminate the charge for coming into the homes. And that was one of the biggest barriers that we found for repeat visitors, as you described here in our community, that for those of us that are residents, sometimes when you come to the home for the first time, the barrier to entry to bring a visitor back or bring yourselves back was that you were having to pay again. And this mayor and council gave us permission to essentially forego that revenue so that we could increase access and activation into the homes. And we saw a 60 to 70% increase just on that move alone. So we saw really 40 to 50,000 visitors, if my memory serves me correctly, coming into the homes over the course of the year after we activated the homes in that way. We've also partnered with Rotary and Friends of Bullock on the Chris Kingle Market, which brings a tremendous amount of people into Bullock Hall, and along that entire corridor, truly activating the home. So I think you'll start to see that movement forward in agreement with that vision that really the community is looking for, of activating our properties, activating the homes, and creating access to those properties for a variety of reasons, both the honoring, remembering, and celebrating our history and all of the pieces of our history, along with how we activate those homes on behalf of the taxpayers and our visitors alike. And they are being incorporated into our economic development strategy, as the mayor described. And of course, we can talk quite a bit. I also oversee our economic development team, and happy to sit down and talk about what we do as a strategy together, because it is a difficult movement, as you talked about. There's a number of projects that have started and stopped, and as the mayor described, really this is about how we're developing a strategy. What's our downtown strategy, midtown, uptown, and east side? And that has been developed over the course of the last 2 years, and we're actively pursuing that strategy moving forward.
Yes, ma'am. Ashley, would you like, the floor is yours.
I think that we're losing out on, that sounds great, and I think we just need to put more into those. I mean, what town has this many historic homes, a river, the cemeteries in this area? None. There are none. We just need to, these historic homes will bring more to the local businesses as well. So I really think that we need to focus, or, get a group to focus on these, and, whatever y'all done, I thank you. I have not seen it, so I'm very excited to see it. I know about Mimosa because I have been working with, I worked with the family before they sold it to y'all. So I am excited to see that. But I do think that we're really losing out on things that we have that we could really do more with.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jenny Lim, and I have been
Jenny,
a
you're
resident.
famous. You can't just come here and say, I'm Jenny
My 5
Lim.
minutes of fame, yes. I have lived in Roswell for 20-plus years. I am at 1050 Martin Ridge Road. I have two questions and one comment. So I remember at some point in the past that the city had talked about putting roundabouts along Grimes Bridge. Whatever happened with that? My question is, where did that go? Did that evaporate through community issues, or was that part of a greater DOT issue?
Let's get you an answer to that.
That'd be great.
Let me get you a full answer on that. Jeff, off the top of my head, I don't want to answer this one wrong, because it's been a while since we've talked about this. Where are we on this? This is Director Jeff Littlefield, Director of Transportation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A little over a year ago, it was voted to not pursue roundabouts at neighborhood streets. We looked at I think it was the Cottage School, and we couldn't facilitate the traffic. So there's nowhere really to put a roundabout right now. So we're reevaluating, and in addition, Georgia Department of Transportation eliminated the connection over 400.
They did.
Yes, and so that caused us to kind of rethink what we were doing on Grimes Bridge, and so we're in that process right now.
Is it, Jeff, how would you describe it? Is it in stasis? Is it close to dead? Are you waiting on us? What's happening from your standpoint?
As far as the connection?
No, not the connection, the roundabout that Jenny brings up.
The roundabouts are not coming.
They're dead, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
They're dead.
They're dead.
Okay.
We're looking at some other traffic calming measures.
But as far as this roundabout on the Grimes Bridge Road, for the time being, it is dead. Is that fair?
That's fair, I understand. I would like to point out that most days when I leave my office at Grimes Bridge and Holcomb Bridge Road, I spend 25 minutes going up the hill to get to Old Dogwood. 25 minutes at 2 miles an hour. Something's got to give. That's not okay. The next question is...
That's a statement or a question?
No, that's a statement.
Okay.
The next question that I have for you is, you're talking about making the city more walkable. The section of road between Riverside Road and Old Alabama going up that very long hill, there are no sidewalks there. We just had a bit of a forest fire. There's no sidewalks. Every day, I see people riding their bicycles. I see people walking. I see kids walking down that street.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's barely any street lights. People are going 55+ miles an hour. It's dangerous, and that is one place that we really need sidewalks.
Yes, ma'am. So Riverside and Old Alabama, question, will there be sidewalks on Old Alabama, basically in Riverside, correct?
Old Dogwood.
Old Dogwood.
Old
All right, so I
Dogwood.
got that as statement one, Old Dogwood.
Yes, it's Old Dogwood. Are you guys planning on putting sidewalks in along Old Dogwood between Riverside and Grimes Bridge?
Jeff, where are we on that? Well, there's a plan, Jenny. I don't want to be straight up with you because I don't know where it is. I don't think it's, I was thinking you said Old Alabama.
No, I was the other side.
Yeah.
I'll have to get back with you on that one. We do have the Riverside Road project, which goes from 9 to basically Riverside that goes to Old Alabama, and it will be resurfacing.
Okay, but we're talking about from Riverside up to
Old Alabama. No.
Grimes Bridge.
Old
Dogwood, yeah.
Not yet, no, sir.
Jenny, I don't know. I'll have to, honestly, can we look into it, get back to you? I don't think it's.
There is a calming measure there. There is a flashing light, a warning light when people are going over the speed limit. But I don't know that anyone other than myself and maybe one or two of my neighbors actually pay attention to that.
Okay. Can I follow up with you on that?
Absolutely. The last thing I would like to say as far as, it's a question. When you talk about this massive sports complex.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give me a couple of names of anchor tenants?
That is part of the master developer's job.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess by your question, you probably have some insight into that piece.
No,
So-
actually, I don't. I'm concerned. As a resident of Martin's Landing,
Yep.
I am concerned that you're going to put how much more traffic at my corner. I mean, we spend hours getting onto 400 right there. And you're talking about coming in and putting in a massive sports complex on an overloaded street already.
Yeah, so probably the state's got $4 billion. There's a lot that's fixing to happen. You're probably familiar with the diverging diamond interchange. You know what that's going to do, right? You probably have some sense of that. That's a state project, not a Roswell project.
Right.
The city is working actively underneath Jeff's leadership to begin. We've been working over a year and a half on trying to integrate things that we need and things that we're seeing, right? In terms of having that, how do we impact softly some of the areas that they're going to be hard impacted. The Georgia 400 Managed Lane project potentially had a hard impact on the city of Roswell. The DDI has a hard impact on the city of Roswell from a traffic perspective. What we've been working on is to have influence on those to begin to change some of those parameters. That is delicate, hard work. And I can't tell you with any, hey, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing. I can tell you we're working on it. But I don't have in terms of that piece, that's a master developer question. So the question is, once you buy the land, right, and you secure the land with the master developer, then you basically are going to secure the stadium, and then all that product is going to be entitled by the council, and that's going to be, there'll be certain entitlements to that. So you're asking a question I couldn't it would be so speculative.
Okay.
It would be crazy speculative on my part.
My concern is that we already have 4 built-out shopping centers in a very close proximity that have a lot of dead, empty space.
That's right.
So before you go and build this massive center that sounds like you're going to be very proud of, we need to have tenants in those other locations so that we don't have more dead shopping
I'm
centers.
so glad you brought that up, Jenny. Let me tell you, that is exactly the problem. When we came in, East Roswell suffers economic malaise, right? Massive, right? That's not a short-term project, that's a long-term project. And what am I looking at?
Just want to be careful about.
Yeah, I got, guys, cool it. The problem with that strategy is, what the marketplace has already demonstrated in East Roswell is failure, right? And you have a degradation from A to B to C to D tenants. So there's no dynamic economic activity that would happen from Kohl's, movie studio grill, and if you put all that and synthesize that and said boom, 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 and let's say the city subsidized that, even to create market activity, which is what would have to happen, because the marketplace is not going to do that. The first rule of economics is the marketplace does what's in the marketplace's interest, right? So there's a reason that the marketplace is not in Kohl's, right? There's a reason Target failed, and there's a reason that movie studio grill, right? The marketplace could not support it. So we said, look, we've got to solve this for the east side of our city. We've got to solve this for 40,000 residents. It's going to take a dynamic project to change the economic energy.
So you think by bringing in the sports complex that you will be bringing in more people to spend money at the accompanying shopping centers in the area?
When you not just change the centers, you change the values of the property, which changes investment. You change the capital's look and perspective of that side of the city, so the capital begins to invest in new projects. It's not just going to be, let me take the status quo project there. They're going to say, hey, the value has changed. I see the traffic patterns change. I see the demographics of how the dollars are spent changing. I see how much trial there is in the marketplace based upon daytime and nighttime mixes. And then the capital says, ooh, I can make money doing that. So the capital begins to invest differently. That's the key. Because on the same trigger levels that we're on today, this is it, right? We're not coasting, we are failing. We are failing, we've been failing for 30 years, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And there's been no attention. There was no plan for East Roswell when it got annexed. It was a tax grab. It was a tax grab. There was no plan to incorporate East Roswell. And so we look at this and say, look, we've got to save the east side of our city. We have to save it economically, so this dynamic. Now, you're a little bit ahead of me because I cannot tell you where the Roswell Entertainment District is because that's not been announced. I can tell you we've announced it. So I can't, I do believe it's going to be on the east side of the city, but I can't tell you that tonight.
Okay, so you guys are, you're telling me you don't think that you were talking about putting a sports complex on the east side of the city?
Oh, no,
that
I'm
you're
not saying
sure
that
of
at all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, don't put me in a pigeonhole to say something I can't say to get me in trouble with a bunch of other people,
Okay.
right?
All right. All right. Thank you for your time, and thank you all for showing up tonight. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Jenny.
it.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Kat?
My name is Kat Plant. I live at 100 Lake Pines Court. I think I just have comments tonight. I would just like to, again, encourage y'all to stop spending so much money. We continue to have a bloated organizational chart that constantly is adding more positions with to meet same titles. We have multiple people doing the same thing, or at least that's what it looks like to me. I know we have a large budget and we can easily find $1 million to come up with some things, is what I heard tonight. Our budget does not need to be as big as it is. I feel like you could easily cut what we spend on some things, mainly our upper levels of salaried positions. Our proposed budget this year has an increase of charges for services is up $25 million over 5 years ago. Maybe if we stopped spending so much money on some things, we wouldn't have to charge our residents $25 million more for services than we did 5 years ago. Our sales tax revenue keeps increasing, so I feel like that's money coming in. We don't have to charge so much for services. We could come up with money to preserve the cemeteries that we need to and our history that has been neglected. We could maybe not spend so much money on retreats every year, less money on consultants. Sorry, I will always pick on Sear. We spend too much money on that. But that's all. Thanks. Have a good night.
Kat, thank you so much. Thank you for your time and comments as always. Other Roswell residents? Yes, ma'am. Sally, welcome.
Mayor and council. It's been a little while since I've been here. Good to see y'all. Oh, hi. Good evening, Mayor and council.
Welcome, Sally.
I was actually watching online and I wanted to come down and thank you all. I feel like this has been a great open mic night. I saw a lot of comments coming forward and concerns that you addressed in a manner that showed that I think that y'all are taking care of business in a lot of areas where residents have been concerned, and you're actually on the same page. We are actually on the same page. I also, the main reason I rushed right down was because there was a comment about the lack of activity, the lack of change, the lack of progress. And I have lived in Roswell since 1995 or something. I have been involved and paid attention since 2013. The last 2 years, I have never seen so much activity and planned change as the last 2 years. And so, and I don't necessarily agree with everything, but to say that that nothing is happening is just, I would cuss if I wasn't here. It's just not true. So I just want to set the record straight. You all have you're moving at lightning speed. I think sometimes too fast, again, personal opinion. But also, just a side note, just a little thing about Mimosa Hall. There's a great Easter concert there on the 14th. Roswell Music Club continually has events there. Oh my gosh, amazing events. So if you're not tuned in, public, if you're not tuned in, follow Roswell Music Club, follow Roswell Arts Fund, get on Roswell 365. Mimosa Hall is activated, and I look forward to seeing how much more activated it's going to be after the improvements and changes that are coming. So again, I just wanted to thank you all. I don't always agree with you, but I want to thank you all for your work and your continued effort. You put your head down, you get the work done, so thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, Lee.
Thank you, Ms. McKenzie. And Ms. Glass, I just want to give you a, is it Ashley Glass?
Ashley Glass.
This is not an attack. I just want to give you a little short report of what I could come up with here. And several things have already been talked about in regard to the historic assets and the utilization of those. No one would like to see those activated more than I love them. I'm so glad we have them, and they give us a lot of opportunity to talk about our past, the enslaved, the white people that owned them, the whole nine. But in addition to some of the things that have been mentioned, I will tell you, maybe your posse, your group of friends doesn't go to the historic assets, but I have a ton of people that are now able and want to take their friends, neighbors, family, when they have guests in town, to them because they don't have to pay again. And I'm going to use a really bad analogy. Everybody up here knows I'm not a big sports fan, but I took my nephews and kids to the Football Hall of Fame like 5 years ago and paid a fortune to go, and everybody had a great time. I'm probably never going to go again. I'm not going to pay $35 or $38 to go in there for something that I'm not excited about. But I had a good time that time. Same thing could be said for our historic assets, for people visiting. You go once as a resident, and you're like, well, I've seen it. I don't want to pay again to go take my neighbor or my mom or brother or whomever. But I know people that are taking tours on some of our trails and then stopping by one of the historic homes and then eating out or not. But we've seen a massive uptick in that. The Earth Day program that we put on 2 years ago was at Mimosa Hall. Unfortunately, it wasn't very well attended, but it was really cool. So we decided not to bring that back. You just heard mention of the music club by Ms. McKenzie, and that is a almost monthly event that's been taking place for up to 70 people. It's usually around 40, 45, and they bring in all kinds of different entertainment, from musicians on string or brass or vocals. That right now, while we're doing projects of work on Mimosa Hall to get it ready for special events that will start taking place next year, we'll be temporarily relocated down to the Roswell River Landing, which affords a little more seating and a little change of scenery. I've heard very positive feedback on that, and some people that don't want to leave Mimosa for the time being, so that's fair, but it opens up another place that's really beautiful on our river for people to see. They will come back to Mimosa Hall once it's opened back up. We had last year the Slave Dwelling Project, and I attended all three events. The first one was at Mimosa. There were, I think, 78 people. I'm an event planner by trade, so I usually count heads like I did tonight and here to see how many people were here. And so I noticed that, and it was very well attended at Mimosa. The next day at Bullock, we had an open demonstration on the grounds of Bullock out there outside of the outbuildings that are slave buildings that are recreations of that. So there was an open fire with Miss Carissa. There was a soap making and how slaves wash the white clothes. It's called whiting, I believe, or bluing even. It's a bluing agent. Yeah, forgive me, I'm not trying to school you. I just want to tell you so that people listening can understand what sort of programming we do put on. And that was about it. Sure. Just a few others. Chris Kendall Market was mentioned. Mimosa was able to piggyback on that with several different photo shoots with Santa Claus. During that time period, we just brought back the quilt show at Bullock Hall. They had a record 500 people, I think, in 5 days that they were open. Roswell Roots, we've had authors at Mimosa that did the ABCs of Black Inventors while there was a story reading in the front room. I mentioned Mimosa being monetized. We have tons of people coming to take prom and homecoming photos, and that's not even counting the folks that have a license to come photograph for weddings, bar mitzvahs, engagements, family shots, that sort of thing, that we are monetizing, and it increases our exposure. People tell me all the time, kids don't want to be around this old stuff, and it's so funny because they're standing on Canton Street or standing in front of Bullock or in front of Smith or in front of Barrington taking pictures of what feels comfortable and like home. And I can relate to that. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm schooling. I'm trying to blow through this. The Beyond My Stone has been an incredible program that we do at the Roswell Historical Society in partnership with several other agencies in the city, where we have actors, some local phenoms, and others that are just passionate about the history of who's buried at what cemetery. And the one that was last year, I believe, was at the Pleasant Hill Baptist Cemetery that was discussed earlier tonight. I've been to all of them but the Founders Cemetery over the time I've lived here in 23 years. And of course, the tree lighting was a serious dud for years and years and years at our historic original town square. And we moved it 3 years ago to Heart of Roswell and then put in a Deck the Square, which is local nonprofits, organizations, or just I want to do one. Anybody can sign up to do a tree and decorate that to draw people in. So again, I don't want this to ever sound condescending. It's not 500 things. It's not, but it is a start and some unique things to get people engaged and that hopefully would draw them into, and this is just what I came up with on the top of my head. I just wrote these down. But anyway, I appreciate your perspective, and it does mean a lot. And if any of that sounds negative, I don't mean it to. So thank you. Thanks for indulging me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Councilmember Hills. Any other comments from Roswell residents? Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you. My name's Liz Goldsmith. I've lived in Roswell for 20 years. I'm also an educator in Roswell. Couple questions. Regarding SEER, and you had described them as the spearhead of the financial economic plan for Roswell.
Tip of the spear.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Tip
ma'am.
of the spear. Sorry,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. My question is, was it not part of their contract to provide quarterly reports and progress?
Yes, ma'am.
It was, okay. So I didn't see anything on the website, and I did an open records request, and what I got back was October 2024. And so there's not one for December, and now we're at March 31st.
Yes, ma'am.
So where are we as a city on making sure that we're being fiscally responsible and good stewards when we have such a sizable economic investment in that company, yet they are not giving us feedback?
Well, they are, and that's us, and you'll see that report. Is that tomorrow?
So it was an open records request?
Yes, ma'am. By the way, Liz, feel free. Yeah. You can send, no, besides, you can feel free to do ORs. You can also send that question directly to me.
Either way.
But 15th of April, you're going to see the SEER quarterly report, and there will be November and December of 2024, and you'll see the first quarter of 2025.
So that's not a quarterly report
It's
then?
not, because
Okay.
there was a
I'm
change.
just trying to clarify.
No, there was a change in the fiscal year, and so I don't know what they came across that the
Skipped it?
contract. I'm sorry.
Skipped it?
No, we didn't skip it. That's why it's going to be, you're going to see it next, on April the 14th. You're going to see the first quarter report, and you're going to see because they had it tied into, the finance had it tied into the contract, which was May, and one of the things, so it's a little gerrymandered from a time perspective. So you're going to see all 5 months. You'll see the 2 months, you'll see November, December separate, and then you see the first quarter separate.
Okay. My area is not finance. So my understanding of quarterly reports is that we know where we are quarterly.
Yes, ma'am.
Not retroactive, like this is what we did.
Yes, ma'am.
A quarter, is that correct?
Yes,
or
ma'am,
not?
and that's what
Okay.
you're going to see going forward.
Okay, so with the amount of financial expenditure that we have going into a company like SEER, and that they are also, I don't know, what would you call it? Job sharing our COO?
No, ma'am. Oh, job
How
sharing.
would you explain that?
Oh, you're the
'Cause
COO?
I don't really understand that myself.
How would you explain it? I mean, job sharing, is that, they went out, it's contract employee, yeah, which is not uncommon, Liz. It's done in cities all the time.
But
Sandy
we
Springs, Sandy
contract
Spring.
with a company
Yeah, and cities do that, yes.
to then contract with that employee.
Yes, ma'am, a contract employee.
Would it be a question to you or through an open records request? I believe in the budget information, that's a $330,000 salary.
Yes, ma'am.
But it's a part-time COO, correct?
No, ma'am,
It's not a 100% position?
it's 100%. That individual works 70 to 80 hours a week at the city of Roswell.
In the contract, it doesn't say a full-time.
It may not, but the results for you as a taxpayer are double what the contract says.
Well, I'm
And so
trying to
let
understand
me
the
ask you,
contract.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Tell me what you want to know that's important to you that we're not providing to you.
Sure. Well, I'd like to know if we have this enormous financial contract with Sear.
Why do you
and
say
we
it's enormous?
also-
I'm sorry, forgive me. Why do you say it's enormous?
I mean, in the scheme of our budget,
But so,
it's quite sizable,
what
correct?
so I'm just curious, because I've heard that before, and I'm always kind of confused, because I've never seen the same kind of consternation over other vendors. For example, Jacobs, which is one that basically Sharon came to and said, put a stop to, that we'd spent.
I'm not familiar with Jacob, so if we can
Well, I'm
focus
just
on
saying,
this
but I'm just
one,
saying, I'm just saying, but there's a lot of vendors that we spend a lot of.
But if
I'm
you
sorry,
can help
Kat,
me understand my question here.
but, yeah,
We went through a whole list of all of the vendors.
yes, ma'am.
that we have for the city to
Yes, ma'am.
compare and show us.
Yes.
Sear wasn't so big, except for the usage of those contracts is nothing in comparison to what we. It might be allotted a certain amount, but we never reached that much, whereas this.
Well, I will tell you, Liz, for my money, like as a resident, right? And as someone who's actually now in the government side, I can tell you that for me, it is hard sometimes because I can't pass on the information of how much Sear has meant to this city and how much the dollars that we've invested in the city, how much it's meant to me as a taxpayer.
Well, I think that's all opinion, right? So if we
Well, it's
deal-
informed, but Liz,
so
the
if we
difference
deal-
is it's highly informed opinion. It's highly informed, it's not just an opinion. It's not, hey, oh, by the way, hey, we're spending a lot of money with Sear. I'm one of the people responsible for making that decision. I'm not nilly-willy about how I spend your money. I have a fiduciary responsibility about how you spend your money. And so when it's always a pushback like, well, you're not spending our money wisely, that for me is a different question.
Oh, I didn't say.
No,
you
I know
weren't
you're
spending
not, but often that's the
but
Sear.
I
that's-
think my questions are very black and white, so I don't
Yes,
think
ma'am.
we have to
Well, yes, ma'am. You deserve-
parlay into the feelings aspect.
Yep.
But I'm trying to understand, would it be an open records request or an email to you, or maybe you can direct me to one of the senior
Yes,
vice
ma'am.
presidents of departments that could answer it? But we have this large expenditure to Sear. We also have this additional contract for the COO. In any of the paper, I can't ascertain what part of that $330,000 salary is actually going to that COO or is going to Sear as the manager of that COO. Does the COO report to the mayor and council, or does the COO report to Sear, who we pay as
No,
a consultant?
The COO reports to the CEO. The CEO reports to the mayor and council. The COO reports to the CEO, not to Sear. To answer your question specifically, the 330 or 340 is 100% pass-through. So Sear retains zero, not a penny of that. In terms of, there's no money that Sear gains from the contract employment of the COO to the city of Roswell. $0, not one penny.
Okay, well, great. That's an excellent black and white, no feelings answer. Second thing is, in the quarterly, that's not quarterly, but is going to be quarterly,
Yes, ma'am.
reporting going forward, there seems to be a lot when I've asked for this information that says X amount was paid to Sear, and then the next report comes out, and then there's more money that's paid to Sear for the same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
That wasn't filed or paid in the previous quarter. It seems like there should be tighter record keeping or accounts payable, accounts receivable, so that something that says at the end of this quarter was 74,000, then over here where it's not even a quarter yet, but isn't really reported, oh no, that was really 85,000. To me, that's not transparency of budget when money's moving like this after reporting. So if something took place, say in August, correct, that was paid out, but then in the quarterly report in October, doesn't list that. But then when we get another report in April 15th, now lists something for last August. That doesn't match up with the budgeting and the reconciliation on quarterly reports. Is that going to be something we see being better going forward?
Well, I sure hope so. That
Oh,
sounds, doesn't
good.
sound
Well,
good.
great.
That
We
doesn't
agree
sound very,
there.
that
We
doesn't-
agree,
That
Kurt.
doesn't sound
See?
very good.
Excellent.
So, Mayor and Council, and for the community, I'll be providing the quarterly report later in the month of April.
April 15th.
Thank you.
At
April
committee.
15th. At committee.
Not at council, but the day
be
following
committee.
on Tuesday the 15th.
That's right. And yes, you know, we are working very diligently to make sure that we have a clear and understandable report. We're working with our finance team and reconciling the invoices that are coming through. We just processed the last invoices that were at the end of this month today so that we can include those as part of the quarterly report, month end of March 31, 2025. And you should be able to track those through. Now, of course, if there's questions, happy to answer those as we go forward.
And Liz, let me give you another piece that you didn't ask, but you're probably going to ask the next time. You're going to say, why are there so many SOWs? Because I have recently directed the team to get more SOWs, more specific, because of all the work that's done in the city, behind the scenes, that Sears involved in. And I said, quit globbing it up underneath this or that and be very specific about the statement of work, the actual work that Sears is doing, because that needs to be expressed to the community. The community needs to see the work that Sears is doing, the work that you're paying for. And so I will tell you, I predict that you're going to see a lot more SOWs, much more specific, because my request has been, I want to see more SOWs that are more specific, more direct. I don't want to see them globbed up. So I don't know if that, I know you're not asking that question, but you'll probably ask that question next time.
Well, that's a great thing to look forward to, because I did definitely take notes on the deliverables that were promised today. So I hope that we do see those coming forward.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned a couple of times the, I don't want to miss, billion-dollar sports entertainment
Yes,
zone
ma'am.
on the east side of Roswell.
Actually, I didn't say the east side of Roswell. Jenny said the east side of Roswell, and I said, Jenny, I got to back out of this. I do not want to get pinned in that conversation tonight.
Okay. But the sports complex that you said is a huge deal, and why isn't it more of a huge deal? I guess some of my questions are, who's paying for it? You talk in the billions of dollars. So who is paying, and what direct benefit is the city of Roswell going to gain as far as, you know, commercial tax, et cetera, that is tangible, not just
Yes, ma'am.
ideas of capital
Yes, ma'am.
investments?
I've got the red light, but I'm going to answer your question. The first performance shows about $11.5 million of tax revenue outside of the standard, outside of where what we project. It's about a deliverable about $11.5 million of tax revenue that we
And the
think.
stadium size?
So the specifics of the project. will be-
Ish.
The specifics of the project will be delivered when the master developer is announced. So I don't want to get ahead of that. It would be premature for me to do that tonight.
No specific size.
Not,
And you said
no,
that-
there's specific sizes, but that is a part of the project tied to the master developer.
And
I'm not
the
going to answer.
master development project information will be forthcoming?
It will be forthcoming as soon as the land deal is consummated and as soon as the master developer deal is consummated.
Okay, so the land's being bought from the city of Roswell?
No, ma'am, I can't address it anymore. It's a real estate deal. Any more commentary from me would be,
Okay, interesting, because you were asking a lot of questions, why it wasn't more, and I
because
guess.
we talked about the USL piece.
We
We've talked
don't
about the
know,
Roswell.
it's not more because we
Well,
don't
we've
have
talked about,
tangibles.
okay. We've talked about the Roswell Entertainment District. We've talked about the USL. I know numerous times, and I said, why is nobody, you said, we
Well, I
don't
do
know
have some
about that.
questions about the USL because I've
But you're-
done some
thank you.
research on that
Thank you.
rumor,
Yes, ma'am.
and
It's not a rumor. So it's not a rumor. We actually did a press conference with it, announced it, and had the USL CEO. But I thank you for your time. You've been amazing. Great
Excellent.
questions.
We'll
Feel
look
free to
forward
reach
to
out to me
following up
directly.
on those things.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you so much. Any other Roswell residents who'd like to come up? Really appreciate everybody's time tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your pieces. I owe some folks some time, some follow-up, and I thank you so much. Being that there are no other items or addresses, comments, this city council, mayor and city council meeting of March 31st, 2025 is adjourned. Thank you so much.